Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down the science of building a smarter, way more effective resistance training program. And we'll be using some key insights from one of the best in the business, Dr. Bret Contreras.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to start with the one single principle that is the absolute engine of all your growth. Then, we'll figure out the key variables, like how often to train and how much to actually do in each session. From there, we'll take all that and apply to a blueprint for targeting a specific body part. And finally, we'll wrap up with the real secret to doing this for a lifetime, not just for a few months.
All right, before we get into the nitty-gritty of which exercises to do or how many sets and reps, we have to understand the fundamental engine. There is one core principle that makes everything else we're going to talk about actually work.
And this is it, progressive overload. You've probably heard the term, but it's really this simple. If you go to the gym and you do the exact same workout with the same weight for the same reps, week in and week out, your body has absolutely no reason to change, no reason to adapt or grow stronger.
And this quote from Dr. Contreras just nails it. Without progressive overload, you are literally just spinning your wheels. So this brings up a really crucial question for you. Are you actually tracking your workouts? Do you walk into the gym with a clear goal to do just a little bit more than you did last time? Because whether that's one more rep or just adding a tiny bit more weight, that right there is the signal your body needs to grow.
So now that we have our engine, progressive overload, let's start building the car around it. Let's figure out the schedule. And one of the most common questions people ask is, how many times a week do I actually need to train a muscle to get the best results?
And here we see this classic trade-off. You might think, well, 3 times a week has to be better, right? And yeah, it might be slightly. But here's the catch. The recovery demand is so much higher that you really increase your risk of burnout. So for most people, most of the time, training each muscle group twice a week is the real sweet spot. It's the safer bet that lets you make consistent, long-term progress without feeling totally beat up all the time.
And you can hit that twice-a-week frequency with a few really popular setups. You could do a 3-day full body routine that actually hits everything 3 times, or a classic 4-day upper-lower split, which nails everything twice. Or maybe you have a specific goal, like building your glutes. You could use a 5-day split to hit that area 3 times and still get your upper body in twice. Which naturally leads us to the next big question. Once you're actually in the gym, how much work should you be doing?
All right, so you're in the gym, you're warmed up, you're ready to train. How many sets should you actually be doing for each exercise? The answer? Well, it might actually surprise you. It is not about doing more for the sake of doing more.
See, when the focus is truly on quality and on progressive overload, an expert coach like Dr. Contreras can get incredible results with just 2 or 3 hard, super focused sets per exercise. The goal isn't just to do the sets, it's to have a purpose behind every single one.
Now, contrast that with what so many of us do by default, just hitting 4 sets. But think about it. How often are those last couple of sets just going through the motions? Without a specific target, like beating last week's performance, those extra sets can easily become what we call junk volume.
So here's the bottom line. The quality of your effort and your commitment to progressive overload, that is so much more important than just hitting some random number of sets. I promise you, 2 sets done with purpose will always beat 4 sets done mindlessly.
Okay, let's take all this theory and put it into practice with a real-world example. Dr. Contreras is famously known as the Glute Guy, and for good reason. He developed this incredible, systematic approach for targeting a muscle from every possible angle to make sure you get complete development. He calls it the rule of thirds, and the idea is actually simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Muscles don't just work in one direction. To really fully develop a complex muscle group like the glutes, you have to challenge it from multiple angles, or vectors. And this chart breaks down exactly how that works. Think of it like this. You combine your vertically loaded exercises, things like squats and lunges, which really challenge the glutes when they're in a stretched position at the bottom. Then you add in your horizontally loaded movements like hip thrusts, which are king for challenging the glutes in that fully squeezed, contracted position at the top. And finally, you throw in some lateral movements like abductions to make sure you hit those side and upper fibers. It's a system to ensure no part of the muscle gets left behind.
Okay, so you've built your program, you're making good progress, but let's talk about the long game. How do you keep this going for years, not just for a few months, without getting totally burned out or worse, getting injured?
And man, this is a hard truth we all have to face eventually. That simple, linear, just do more approach to progressive overload, it stops working.
I mean, think about it. If it didn't, we'd all be squatting thousands of pounds after a decade in the gym. Eventually, you hit a wall, and just trying to push harder and harder is a recipe for frustration.
This is where a key concept from exercise science comes into play: your maximum recoverable volume, or MRV. It sounds technical, but it's really not. It's just about finding that personal sweet spot where you're doing enough to trigger growth, but not so much that you can't recover and come back even stronger for your next workout.
So how do you manage this? How do you stay in that sweet spot? Well, you use a few smart tools. You use variety, switch up your main exercises every month or so to give your body a new stimulus. You also learn to listen to your body. Some days you're going to feel amazing and you can push hard. Other days, the smartest thing you can do is ease off a little. This is the real art of sustainable long-term training.
And at the end of the day, that's really what this all boils down to. The perfect program on paper is absolutely useless if you hate doing it or if you can't recover from it. The best program for you is the one that gets you excited to go to the gym, the one that fits your life, and the one that allows you to be consistent, not just for the next few weeks, but for years to come. That's the real secret.